Hi guys, Melissa from New England Dog Training Club here. I wanted to go over some hand signals. That way we have some of my students have requested this as a video, and I just thought that this might be a really good one just to kind of have for anyone to be able to access through the New England Dog Training Club YouTube page. So welcome. Um, I wanted to go over how we get to our hand signals, the four basic ones that we use in this club, and the ones that you will probably see throughout your dog training journey with your dogs. Any hand signal that you are using, if it is working for your dog and it communicates an idea and an action, and your dog does that action or performs that idea, it's a valid hand signal. So if I'm giving you a signal that looks different than the one that you're using, it doesn't matter. As long as your dog is doing the behavior that you want them to do, that you are asking of them when you're giving this hand signal, and your dog understands that this means do this action, you're fine. But if you're looking for a place to start or trying to figure out how to come up with a really good hand signal for your dog, then this video is for you. So let's start with there are the four. So we usually think of sit, down, touch, and stay. Those are the four big ones that you'll see over and over and over again throughout your journey here at NEDTC. Sit is a big one. That's one that most puppies already kind of come into our classes knowing when they come into our class. But if you don't have a good hand signal, or if you haven't used one yet, here's how we get there. And here's how we get to most of our hand signals. Most of our hand signals are based on the lure. When you have a treat in your hand and you're asking the dog to do something with that lure. So if I want my puppy to sit, I might take a treat, come over their nose this way. I have the treat away from their nose, so that way they can't shark tooth it or whatever. So I can come over their head this way. And so they're looking at the back of my hand. So this is what the puppy sees, right? Boop, boop. And I'm holding the treat here over their head. Eventually, in time, this becomes the hand signal that they see, the back of your hand. Now, think about this too. These hands look different. If you have a left-handed person in your family, they need to practice. You, even if you're a right-handed handler, might want to walk your dog on the left at some point, or for whatever reason, maybe you hurt your arm and your dog has to be on the left. If you're doing competition obedience, everything is on the left. So you really want to acclimate your dog to both sides. These look very different to your dog. So if you're practicing with your right, but you know that your dog eventually needs your left, also practice your left lure over their, going over their head, and then eventually to this. The next one that we do is touch. Now this is where we generally start to see some variance in how people do it, but there tends to be one of two different methods that people will come to class already knowing if they're familiar with the idea of touch or hand target. We use hand target a lot for, well, pretty much for anything. I use it a lot in trick work and in disc dogs. And in competition obedience, you might use it to kind of put the dog where you want them to go. In loose leash walking, if your dog is getting stuck, we might remind you to use your target or your touch hands. That way the dog has a place to watch and can focus your dog. We can use it with leave it to get the dog to turn away from something. We can use it for recall. Dog, come here. And I want you to come right to my hand, not this ambiguous come here-ish, like 3 feet in front of you, or come back as they go running away from you. So we want to give the dog a very specific place to go. So touch is going to help you a lot in your journey. And you've noticed I've been doing it like this. This is the sign language for the letter H, if you're into that kind of thing. This is sign language for letter H. However, we do also see students use this, an open hand, usually to the side. If you were training your dog, hand target with your whole hand, which works really well for really big dogs. Our president, Jessica, has a Great Pyrenees. This is much easier for her to use for that dog, and it's more comfortable for her to use, and it's more comfortable for her dog. I work with a lot of reactive dogs and a lot of smaller dogs, maybe more shy dogs. This might be overwhelming. So I generally use the 2 fingers. Neither is wrong, whichever one you are more comfortable with. But keep in mind, if this is your hand signal for target or hand touch, and you're asking your dog later in your training journey to stay, and you do this and your dog goes bonk, your dog is not wrong. So you want to make sure that you might have an alternative one for stay when we get to that part of the lesson. Down is the next one. Now, down, when we teach a good down, we have the treat in our hand like we would for sit, right? And we still want the treat kind of tucked away from the dog. Remember shark teeth, you don't want that on your hand. So the sit was here. Well, if I'm going to ask my dog to lay down, I have to turn my hand over. So for a down position, the treat is facing the ground. In sit, the treat is facing the sky. Sky, sit, the treat's down for down. So I'm going to come down this way to lure my puppy or dog into a down position. From here, it could look two different ways, and whichever one you're more comfortable with, whichever one your dog is more responsive to. It could be a hand signal like this for down, so down, or you might need it for this hand too, or you can just do one finger down, and then you can tuck the treat here. Whichever way you're more comfortable with, again, whichever way your dog is going to be more responsive to, and then going back to stay, we generally teach it in a class with an open hand. And again, acclimate your dog to both sides, get your arms used to it, get your dog used to seeing it from both hands. However, if your dog knows this is touch and they're touching your hand, they're not wrong. If that's the case, have a plan B. You can use this for stay instead, a closed fist with your hand facing out. And again, for calm, in the steps classes, you might use hand target to get your dog to come to you, and then you can get their collar. If you're doing competition obedience, they will start working you on a more formal come where you're actually like kind of bringing your hand in. But again, for your pet dogs, if you are just working on pet dog training, getting your puppy to do the hand signals or getting you to a place where you're comfortable using hand signals that are based on the lure that you're using is going to be the easiest for you and the easiest for your dog. All right, I hope that's helpful. If you need any more help, just send me a note. Info@NEDTC if you need to communicate with New England Dog Training Club, or you can email me at considerationsbook@gmail.com. Thanks, guys.